Hi there, welcome back to the Veach M Cave Mystery. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a psychological analysis when it comes to the M Cave itself. Although you could argue the true cave has not exactly been found yet or explored enough to be proven, there's been a range of material along the way. A couple of different findings here and there, and they do so happen to tie in line with where Kenny Veach was hiking and clues, possible clues he gave out. What I want to try and analyse today is, why is the M Cave considerably more of an interest and seen maybe more significant over Kenny Veach? Some people may get triggered by that, but hopefully by the end of this video, you may have a better understanding as to why that's the case, okay? Welcome to those that are currently here in this live premiere. Be sure to share your thoughts, opinions in the live chat box right hand side of the screen. And for those that are on catch up watching a day or two late, leave your comments down below and let me know your thoughts, whether you agree or not. And which one do you think is more popular or maybe more important to you, right? For those that didn't catch my recent videos, one I did last night, it was another deep focus. If there is time, I'll be taking a look at the comments today and answer any questions and see if there's any additional information there. But I will provide a link top right corner of the screen, I symbol, click on that and you'll be able to watch last night's video and catch up from there. It'll make things a bit easier as to this format in recent time, okay? The length of the video, it allows people to discuss things whilst we go through this live premiere, so it can help everyone in a way. And it gives me time to try and fully explain the situations and topics we're talking about. So first of all, you'd have to ask yourself, Kenny Veach or M Cave? Which comes up more? I mean, when it comes to the search bar, it'll be Kenny Veach, but M Cave will follow shortly after in the title, or more so in the thumbnail, right? There'll be two key terms that stand out within this case and community, and so they should. Kenny Veach, a missing person, thus meaning a missing person case. M Cave, a cave which is shrouded in mystery and intrigue, the unknown behind it, pointed out by Kenny. So you could argue Kenny Veach was the one to make the supposed M Cave popular. Without Kenny Veach, you wouldn't have the M Cave. But you could also argue and say the possibilities, without the M Cave, Kenny Veach may have never have disappeared. And you could say, well, how do you explain that? Well, either Kenny Veach has gone missing because he went into the M Cave and he was not able to escape, or even if that wasn't the case, you can say that if M Cave never existed to him, if he never found it supposedly in the first place, then he wouldn't have been intrigued to go back out there and push himself even more, even harder, which could result in him getting hurt, harmed, succumbing to the environment, lack of water, stuff like that. Does that make sense? So it could go one of two ways, but it's like Kenny is the starting point, then it branches out to the other findings, just adjust the chair slightly. But in terms of the response by people, okay? Those who may talk about the case and publish it online, on news articles, on YouTube, TikTok, it will be Kenny Veach M Cave. That's the order it will go in. But the response by viewers, and maybe more so hikers, it's M Cave search, followed by Kenny Veach. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that all hikers that go out there are only interested in the cave and not Kenny. Most of the hikers that go out there are interested in both, but going out there in the first place, I think that initial thought is the cave. Wherever Kenny is, that's where the cave will be. And I kind of mentioned it in a previous video, that if you want to find the M Cave, you'll have to go through Kenny first and find him for the knowledge and the intel. Okay, some people can be awkward and say, well, Kenny couldn't find it, but just try and understand the normal concept of what you would expect. Like if somebody has found treasure on an island and they've got a treasure map, well, you're not going to be finding the treasure anytime soon until you find the person with the map. And in Kenny's case, the map is in here, or should be. Okay, didn't quite work out, but just, follow along, right? If you want to find M Cave, you need to find Kenny first, who then can show you to the cave. But if Kenny's already in the M Cave, it would be you're finding the M Cave and then you just so happen to stumble across Kenny in the process, right? And when people go out there, you know, are they directly searching for Kenny first or are they directly searching for the cave? They might think both correlate together, possibly. So it's a bit more linear. We're looking for the cave, which coincides with we're looking for Kenny too. Now I know hikers are very alert or try to be as alert as possible with what's around them, the environments, whether it's dangerous or not, and are there any bones, any clothing, items of interest which could hint, could be a form of evidence. That's what most do out there, SB, Sean Horlecker, etc., right? Jeff Claw, you could say, is an exception. Jeff Claw is mainly interested in the M Cave rather than Kenny Veach and his disappearance. Jeff Claw's already made that clear publicly, so there's no issues there, okay? And Jeff Claw can add on if he wants to. I guess it just depends how people, in terms of the general public, visualise the case. A missing person case, not quite, a missing person mystery case. An individual that was searching for a mysterious cave and in the process disappeared. Well, supposedly did, right? And some items out there to suggest he did go out into the desert. Enough to say he's definitely out there? Maybe. Enough to say he's dead out there? No, right? And there's been external evidence to suggest the possibilities that he could still be alive, but he moved on. I think the scent part about Kenny's presence being out there proving he did go there on the day, the 10th of November 2014. Okay, scent demonstrates he was there. But the fact that it came to a halt, an abrupt end, would make you think maybe double backing on himself, going back the way he came in the first place, and then what? Maybe getting picked up by somebody else, leaving his truck behind to make it seem like it's all there, the last traces of Kenny. It would make sense. It would have happened before in other cases, other times, right? Not the first thing to happen, okay? So I might be just going a bit off track there, but I just want to summarise the story, okay? The building blocks as to how one thing can link to another and ultimately what's most important, okay? What is most important at the end of the day of this? You'd maybe argue, say, Kenny Veach. This is a missing person case. A missing person. A human life is more important than a little cave or something. But if others are sceptical with Kenny and don't believe he really is missing, then it's understandable as to why they're more interested in the cave. And you could say, well, if Kenny's, good enough, bad enough to fake his own disappearance, then what's stopping him from faking the M Cave as well? It could be all fake. Well, that could have been a thought that was going through people's mindsets out there, some of which you may have been hiking at a point in time. Is it really there? We've not found anything yet. And with the talk in the background about Kenny faking this or that, and weird behaviour in the background, like with the girlfriend, could it have been all a hoax? And I'll just stop you right there, because there have been factors along the way since which would have made people rethink everything, okay? Put aside Kenny, put aside the M Cave seen and experienced by Kenny. The hikers that have gone out there since, who have had strange experiences of their own, it might have relit that fire within their mindsets to think, you know what, regardless of whether the original mystery is true or not, I am experiencing mysteries of my own. And it just so happens a couple of other people are having the same issue. So maybe there is something out there, but not what Kenny was aware of at the time. So completely different, maybe even more darker or mysterious, right? So that's one way of still maintaining that interest. And it might have been what's happened to people in this case, right? A natural form of interest due to unexpected things happening out of one's control, unexplainable events, right? Whether it be UFOs in the sky, as we saw at night time, or it be strange whispers and sounds, or laughing, talking in the background, or if it be rocks, mine shafts being altered with and adjusted with time, and some people never coming forwards, doing it in the background anonymously, a bit mysterious. You could ask yourself, right, I'm here because I'm here for the cave, I'm here for the mystery, I'm here to maybe find Kenny. What are the people in the background there for? Do they have other reasons? I wonder, right? So, let's refer back, because I just wanted to branch off there. Let's just refer back to the cave itself, okay? Why, what is it? What is it about the cave that really drags people into this case? Well, what I will say is, without Kenny, you don't have the M Cave, because Kenny was the one to supposedly find it. But what I would also say is, without Kenny's disappearance, the M Cave probably wouldn't be much of an interest, okay? Kenny could describe it as deep, dark vibrations felt. That in its own right, yeah, that sounds a bit of a mystery, sounds a bit spooky and creepy. But if Kenny could never find it, and he never went missing, it probably just wouldn't spark that same interest or in that same intense feeling, right? Oh, there's a cave out there. Sounds mysterious, sounds a bit dark. How far away is it? Damn, that many miles? How many hours does it take to do the full hike loop? Was it like 10, 11 miles, hours and hours of walking out there? Is it really worth my time and effort to do all that? I think people would probably question and be a little bit more reluctant or not as willing, not as passionate, because there is a mystery, but it's not combined with anything to really make it worth someone's time, right? The fact that it's very desolate, far out there, dangerous to the environment, and the odd few people that have already been there and hiked one time or more, right? They've done what they've done, and they've all said it's pretty rough, it's brutal, it's demanding. Whew. Like, you know, the likes of Jeff Clark, just for example, even he didn't really want to go back out there because he's been there, done that already, and it was very demanding, and that's, you know, understandable. So if you was to take away a factor from the location, the environment, one of the pulling factors, Kenny Veach, okay? If Kenny never went missing, but the story still remained a mystery cave out there as told by Kenny online, Kenny didn't pursue or follow it up, would any of the hikers follow it up either? That's what you got to ask yourself, right? So you could say there's a subconscious motivation, whether you're interested in Kenny Veach or not, that when it comes to a mysterious cave and a disappearance of somebody that just so happened to go back out there looking for it, you could assume and say maybe the cave finally got a hold of Kenny and Kenny finally found the cave. So because now you've got two mysteries which link together, it makes it more worthwhile. It intensifies the case. It really brings people's interest to the point of maybe it is worth checking the location out or scouting about. So I think both work hand in hand. And I know some people out there could say, well, it's hand in hand because one created the other. Kenny created the story of the cave. But as I said, even if that was the case, there are still mysteries out there which are either coinciding with that or completely different, and some have been documented. Crystal Skull, Sword Intent, and then the auditory stuff, the footsteps. It's spooky. Just take this into mind. The likes of Jay Chuck, that was all spiritual and calm, but at a later point when he went out there, he felt a little bit uneasy. Like he could hear things, and it got a bit spooky. So even if someone like Jay Chuck can experience that, it's worth taking in mind. The likes of Jeff Clark, who tries to remain as level-headed as possible and is all about the facts in capital letters. Even some experiences he's encountered have been so unexplainable, it's made him re-question everything and consider more so now the paranormal, the UFOs, aliens, darker presence, the uncertainty, the unknown out there, right? So could you say that the hike changes people? Well, it might change the odd person. I think it might just either strengthen people's beliefs in what could be out there after you've, you know, gone out on the hike. It might put things into a different perspective. So stuff you might have been doubtful, skeptical on, it's been reinforced now. I mean, there was a point in time where SB, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there was a time where SB Vegas Adventures was being level-headed to, and also believing that the supposed covered-up M Cave was nothing more than just like natural rock, and that was it, nothing more. But then another time when he was out there, he was suggesting like a possible portal, which may open every now and then, not guaranteed as to when exactly. So to change from one thing to another, a little bit drastic, but with being out there longer, you gain more experience and maybe a better understanding. With being out there more frequently, there's more chances of experiencing stuff you normally wouldn't come across if you only went once. So that's how things can change with time. So the magnetizing drawing factor, the mysterious M Cave, and the supposed idea that Kenny got lost within it. That's what ultimately draws people out there, such as the hikers. What about just as a general interest in the cave itself? Yes, if you take Kenny Veach away, people would still be interested in the cave, right? But maybe not enough to get people out there, or not enough to get as many people out there in searching for it, because it's a waste of time. It's not worth one's time and effort, money, and the danger levels of it. High risk, low reward. You know, the concept of finding a mysterious cave, the environment it may be in and what's around, high risk, but being able to find it, document it, prove Kenny was right, but also maybe find Kenny in the process, high reward too. We're not talking about the reward in YouTube, statistics, growth, and, you know, getting all popular there, but being able to finish what Kenny started. That could be going on in people's minds, right? But let's strip it back. Strip it back to the basics. If you separate both, right? Let's say they're never linked together. You got Kenny Veach, a person that's gone missing in a desert, in a national park, one of those type of, you know, normal, even though it's not exactly normal, but a typical US missing person case, missing 411, whatever you call it. You got that. And then you've got a mystery of a cave out there, which could have been a long tail story which has been told in the past, and it's come up here and there. Both are mysteries. A mystery of a missing person, a mystery of a cave, which might have certain characteristics about it, unique compared to anything else out there, right? What's more likely to last longer? I'd say the cave. With a missing person case, there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much resources and authority can involve themselves with, to the point where if it falls flat and there's no more progress made, it can become a cold case and it kind of just dies out like that. And if it dies out and there's less coverage with time, and even if YouTubers or, you know, others that may cover the case and tell the story here and there, it might only attract so many people, and you might only have so much material to work with. Because take in mind, the Kenny Veach case M Cave Mystery, as what we're doing now, because it's 2 lots of mysteries, right, means 2 lots of material and more. So you can always refer back to it. If you run out of material information on Kenny, you can talk about the cave and vice versa. Hand in hand, it keeps the case alive. But if it's a standalone case of Kenny and not the cave, there'll only be so much you can refer to. Where was he on this day? When was he last seen? Is there any cameras? Like that. It's kind of like the Christine Passay Parker case, Aidan Clune, in which it's mainly a missing person case. As for foul play, that remains unknown, right? But a missing person case, you do the map, you might do the odd interview or listen to some interviews and look at news articles. And then after that, what happens? Public searches, whether much comes up or not, it can fall flat there, then it can go quiet. And if it remains like that, well, the hope goes down, right? The consistency and focus and coverage goes down to the bottom of the list. What else can you do, right? But when it comes to a cave, because it's just a mystery, right? The mystery of a cave, the mystery of a location can hold more stories and is open to interpretation more. The stories about the cave could be retold over time in different ways. You could say Chinese whispers, it changes with time, the descriptions, it could have a false narrative at one point, it could get messy. But even that is what can propel and preserve the lifespan of the mystery of the M Cave over Kenny. Because when it comes to a missing person, it tends to be all about the facts, the story, the details, witness reports, And once that's out the window and there's nothing more, you can think outside of the box to an extent, right? Depending what evidence is there, kind of like the Dylan Rounds case. But once you've covered that and there's no more material, you can't really go anywhere else. I know you could come out with random theories like, oh, alien abduction, Bigfoot, fell into the Earth's core. But where's the evidence? Where's the material to back it up? There isn't any. And I don't think people are going to go out of their way to then prove that, because they themselves probably think, well, it's probably not true, but I'll just talk about it anyway for attention. But that will only last so long. So just like with the case going cold, material goes cold, evidence goes cold, and thinking outside of the box is limited. But with a story of an M cave, just like many stories told over time, it can change, it can adapt. It can become very drastic, it can escalate to the point where there's so much mystery around it, where maybe it's not that mysterious, but it's built up so much hype and intrigue, where it really does intensify and it keeps the case alive longer. And if it gets to a certain point where the expectations are that high and the mystery has been told that much, it could still be enough to drag people out there and search. I know it'll be enough to drag people out there in searching, finding a missing person like Kenny, but as I said, only so much can be done now when searching, and eventually a cold case. The thing that probably keeps people coming back to this situation of the Kenny Veach M Cave is, we've been out there, we've not found Kenny, already a cold case, it feels dead, it feels flat, or at least it was a cold case up to a certain point. May have been revived since, let's just say. But not getting anywhere, not finding Kenny, no bones, no material. Oh well, we'll keep going back out there. We'll keep on hiking out there. Why? Because of the cave. The cave is one of the factors which can help bring people out there even when it feels hopeless, right? Because the mystery, the intensity of the cave is what drives people forwards. And even those that may do research online or some kind of coverage, right? You don't always have to be boots on ground. You can do it in other ways, and both can complement one another, as I've always said. Is there anything directly specific about this cave, though, this supposed cave, that really gathers people's interest? Is it the fact that it's deep and it's dark? No. Because when you get a cave, an actual cave, it can be deep. It can be dark. There's no light source in there. You might get sunlight outside, which might shine in at a certain angle, but besides that, it's dark. So really, any cave, any tunnel, any mine shaft, anywhere in the world which could be dark, it doesn't even have to be deep, but if it's at least dark, it can be a bit mysterious, it can be a bit spooky. That psychological effect that if you're present at a place like that, whether it looks abandoned or not, looks dodgy or not, if it's dark, you can't see what's within. That's the unknown. The unknown, the uncertainty can trigger possible fear or interest, or both at the same time. It might be what drags you into the place to explore further, to see what's within. Whether it goes right or wrong, that remains to be seen, right? So certain characteristics, as simple as they can be and as often as they can be applied, it can be enough to spark interest or intrigue, but you always need a characteristic, a factor which separates all from, separates one from all. And that would be the vibrations. Vibrations, why would you be feeling that? Now, in other cases, scenarios, locations in life, there could be explanations behind it, valid ones, and it's not that mysterious, it's not that deep. But when you consider the location as well, that's what makes it more interesting. So I think with the M cave, right, shaped like an M, the actual shape of the cave isn't really that spooky. If you said a skull cave, a shape of a skull, a shape of a demon, then you could say, wow, appearance-wise, that is scary, that is creepy, and it's dark. I wonder what's within. This is really it, right? So the shape of it, in this case, isn't the driving force behind it. It can be the key factor which makes it more identifiable when trying to look for it. You're looking for an M-shaped cave, capital M. So visually, you know what you need to be looking for from the outside, right? And it can draw you to the point, but it's not what inflicts that fear or interest within you, the shape of it exactly. Because the shape of it is kind of like other shapes out there. You do get other M-shaped caves around the world. So it's not exactly unique, is it? It can still stand out in an area if it's the only M-shaped cave or so, of a certain size, but in terms of around the world, you will get other similar shaped caves, right? But if you had a cave shaped like a skull or a demon and it was intricate in detail, then maybe that would be more unique and stand out more and intensify it too. But that's not the case here. It's more so the characteristics of what's within. The characteristics of what's possibly within the M Cave is what interests people the most because it's uncertain. Because even Kenny, who experienced it partially himself, he didn't even bother going in because he was too scared. So if Kenny Veach went in and explored, if it did exist, what would he have found, right? Even if he couldn't document it, he could have at least told the story and elaborated, right, at the time to explain what he witnessed, what was in sight. Was there anything at all? Or was it just a simple cave? You get what I'm saying? But then again, if Kenny Veach did go within and elaborate and explain, there's a chance that it could have ended up being debunked or ending up being a little bit boring, right? If Kenny said, yes, it's deep, dark, I felt vibrations as I got close, as I just about entered. If I went in further and I walked deeper, it came to a point where there was nothing and it was empty, but I felt vibrations, the end. Okay, you got the mystery of the vibration, but the fact that there's nothing visible within could make people feel a bit, anticlimactic. That's a little bit disappointing. That's a bit unfortunate. So in a way, even if Kenny Veach was genuinely scared, right, going in, that's why he ran away, he wasn't ready, he wasn't prepared, wasn't protected, at least for him or in his situation, if he wanted to create a mystery, it was probably the best decision he made. Experiencing only half of the cave, the mystery, not bothering going in to explore or investigate, preserving that unknown, that uncertainty, which creates a mystery in itself. Because sometimes, often you may want to get to the bottom of a mystery and try and solve it, but at times when you do solve it or debunk it, people are disappointed then because they expected more, anticipated more, and it kind of fell flat, came up a little bit short, bit of a disappointment. That's why some people at times want things just to remain a mystery unsolved and just have that imagination of the what-ifs, even if it doesn't really exist out there, right? So for Kenny in this situation, running away was probably the right move for him, but as he described, he ran away because he was genuinely scared. I know people have questioned Kenny before, saying, well, why did he not have a firearm with him already? Why did he not have a camera with him already? I mean, like when you go outside in public, you might not always have your phone with you. And the times when you don't have your phone with you is a time when something interesting happens. It's unfortunate, right? If you're going out hiking, you're probably best having a phone or some form of communication and contact. Not to take photos, not to do videos primarily, but for more communication, reaching out to people if you're in distress, in trouble. Did Kenny do that? I guess with his phone, yes. Just like how he did on his final hike. He took the phone with him, even if he was supposedly suicidal. He still took it with him. The only question would be, what phone did Kenny Veach have at the time? Does anyone know? We'll have to try and get to the bottom of that. If he had a smartphone, which was possible to take photos with, and if some of the photos he may have taken were with his phone, as you've seen on Facebook, then you could say, well, why did he not take photos? Did he not take photos because there was nothing there to begin with? So he thought, well, I won't document it, but I'll tell the story about what I supposedly saw. Just like when people say, I saw a UFO or I saw Bigfoot, but there's no video footage of it because I didn't have my camera with me at the time. Well, that's unfortunate, isn't it? Obviously, we know Kenny Veach was recording with an actual camera on his M Cave hike route, as you see on his channel. So lugging extra equipment, you'd only be taking that for an exact reason, to document a cave or document your hike because you really want to, or just take a few snapshots and scenery of what's around. If you've been there, done that already, and there's nothing new to see or to take photos of, then maybe you don't need to take a camera again, right? Like when Kenny Veach went the first time and found the supposed cave, I don't know if that was the very first time he went out there. He might have been out there in the past, going out there, but not searching for the cave because he never knew about it at the time, early on. Maybe you could explain some of his footage on his channel originally, which was once there before it being deleted, right? So when Kenny went out there first time, or, well, at least from what we know of, I guess, or how the story's been told, maybe you wouldn't be expecting certain stuff. But then the second time, you kind of know what to expect, so you would take the camera. And for the third time to just not bother again, it's like you've gone backwards, so that makes no sense at all. You're going out on your final hike, but you're not taking a camera with you, but your scent does end at the mine shaft. Maybe you only took so much with you, enough evidence to suggest that you're out there, but not a lot to end up lugging for unnecessary reasons, because you're not planning on staying there, but actually leaving the area in a vehicle being picked up by somebody else. I don't think it's possible, but if only there was CCTV footage to show two vehicles, or one extra vehicle following Kenny's vehicle out into the desert area, if there was any CCTV footage of that's what could possibly prove that somebody was following Kenny, but Kenny knew that because he was getting picked up by them. He takes his vehicle out, drops it off, and then gets into the other vehicle, and then they both drive off together and leave the other stuff out there to say, hey, that's where Kenny went. That's what he said he was originally going to do. But actually he had another original plan, which other people may have not known of, right? So suggestions there. We're going a bit off track again, but as said, you can analyse both, I guess, end of the day. But returning back to the cave, besides the shape of it, it's dark, so you don't know what's within, and you feel vibrations. That makes it even more spooky, right? Whether it truly exists or not, the idea of something like that being out there. And as I said earlier, there could be factors which could explain it and clear it up. But then, just take in mind, another factor which adds to the mystery would be the location. A desert, right? Desert terrain. And you could say, well, yeah, well, you get other deserts out there, you get popular tourist places, so what? Well, this is the factor that eliminates a lot of other thoughts. It's the location of where it's at. Desert environment, right, but the location, desolate, empty, quiet, right? That's the key point there to acknowledge. With it being desolate and quiet, you don't expect people to be going out there. It's not a tourist spot, right? The only reason why people have started hiking out there more so is because of Kenny's disappearance. Now, I know you got Sheep Range, right, higher up, people going to those peaks, but in terms of walking on the low ground and going through Picture Canyon, certain specific off the beaten pathways, right? I'm not saying that the Sheep Range is easier, that will be probably harder, but there's a different reason to be going there, I guess, going to the peaks for the views, to look at the distance. But going on lower ground in a canyon where you might not be able to see as much, and you're always on the boring lower ground where it's just as rough and tough, is it really worth it? What's the end goal, right? Look at it like this. If you were going on that hike, the Kenny Veach M Cave hike route loop, what are you coming across along the way besides the mine shaft? Well, not much else, right? Are you going for the views? Not really, because you're not at the highest point, are you? You're away from that. But the ground is still rough and the environment is still dangerous. And in terms of civilization and reaching out for help, those resources are further back, out of distance in a way. You get the DNWR, but they're still a bit distance away too. So really, you're putting a risk on yourself going out there. High risk, is there a high reward? Maybe not so much. Maybe the odd few hikers with time who may want to push themselves and just push themselves in general. You still get them here and there, but the only reason why more went with time, and I'm not saying lots, right? There's a difference between, a fair few hikers and then lots. This is not a tourist place. But this is all because of Kenny and the M Cave, which has made the area popular. Kenny made the cave popular. The cave made the area popular. And if you think Kenny Veach disappeared in the area, well, it's made the area of high interest too. So it all kinds of link together. And if one thing is eliminated or debunked, it can still link to other factors, right? So, is there anything else to acknowledge here? 23 minutes, I don't know how long this video has been, because I did have to stop and start at one point. Is there anything else to highlight? I mean, as I was referring back to the area, desolate, desert, dark cave vibrations, and the other factor, near-ish to the military border restricted land of a Nellis test range. Area 51, don't even bother including that into the talk, for most part of it at least. If you're talking about cave in the hike area, which links onto Area 51, just think of the distance and mileage, right? From there to way over there. I think someone said 50 miles apart from one another. You're going to go into a tunnel and then walk for 55 miles in a straight line? I don't think so. If it really was the case, it would be more so an actual tunnel and access route for vehicles to drive through underground from here to there, like a channel tunnel, right? Not like a pedestrian pathway to walk from here to down there, because that would take forever. It wouldn't be practical. It wouldn't even be practical for the military, because if it's in a hard area to access and it only can be accessed on foot, then you wouldn't be able to use a vehicle to either get through. So, and you wouldn't see soldiers walking that distance either down a tunnel underground. Would be needing vehicles for efficiency, right? So I don't think it directly links to Area 51, but things that could come from Area 51 and pass over the hike route in the sky, well, there's a link there, right? And even if it wasn't Area 51, Nellis test range or the other military base, because didn't you say there was 3 different military bases? People in the case said. You got Nellis, but then again, Nellis is over that way, outskirts of Las Vegas, so it don't really apply. You got Area 51, Nellis test range, and then what's the other one? Wasn't there another base? I can't remember the name of the final one, but if anyone knows, list it down below. You get what I'm saying? That you could say the hike area is surrounded by military bases or military land, and obviously the closer you are to military land where equipment may be tested, things could be hidden. There could be tunnels, there could be access routes on that side which isn't accessible to the general public. You could start thinking, well, maybe some of that links over to here just because of the proximity of it. So if there's a supposed cave here and there is a vibration feeling, does that have anything to do with military presence nearby, on the military land nearby, on land or underground? That's a fair point to make, right? So with the cave and the characteristics and the location, it opens up more possibilities of theories and ideas, right? More range there to look at, to reach out and branch out. So the presence of the cave can make people feel a bit uneasy or also intrigued, so it draws them there. But the fact that where it is at as well and what could possibly be around, if people are already interested in military, UFOs, that spooky stuff and the unknown, you're technically combining 2 mysteries together into one due to proximity, making it even bigger and bringing more people in who may go there for one thing, but also for the other 2 indirectly, or go for both reasons. So I do think that the cave, the M Cave, has quite a magnetizing effect on people, okay? Because I'm sure when it comes to the videos online, this missing hiker, this hiker went missing, this YouTuber went missing looking for a mysterious M-shaped cave. When people see those titles, normally they say thumbnails can be more important than titles. What is the first thing you see on YouTube? The title of a video or the thumbnail? Most likely the thumbnail, because it stands out more, it's bigger in size and maybe more colourful, rather than the text title in white, default text, let's just say, okay? If you were specifically searching for something, then maybe the title would be more important, because whatever you type in those keywords, do they align with that title of video? Because if they do, you're more likely to come across it. But if you're completely unaware of the case to begin with, you're probably going to be introduced to the case through thumbnails, first of all. So They've got to make an impression. They've got to be somewhat important, right? And stand out. Arrows, circles, to grab the viewer's attention, but hopefully done in the right reasons, okay? So when you look at the Kenny Veach videos by the big channels, the regurgitated BS, the ones that don't bother doing the research because they're lazy bastards, but that aside, you'll see the thumbnail of Kenny, or some thumbnail of Kenny, right? And with an M Cave backdrop, or just a full-on thumbnail with an M Cave symbol with an arrow pointing at it, and that's it. So people will be drawn to that as a lasting impression, be the first thought on the mind visually, right? So I think the cave, in a sense, is actually more important and bigger than Kenny's actual disappearance. But we must also always remember that Kenny was the one that made the cave known to people and popular. Whether it truly does exist or not, it's there in place, okay? So I think that's it there, but we're not stopping. We need to go into the comments on YouTube and acknowledge the last video that I did to see what people had to say about that and answer any questions. So don't go anywhere. Let's head on over there right now. I'm just going to adjust it to the newest. We can start from the bottom. Cleo, interesting, can't wait. So that was in response to your initial video. I'm waiting, Guam. Interesting if J Chuck chimes in. He did chime in briefly, but at the time, J Chuck was actually hiking in the area of Jomay Canyon. Basically, the place what we've been talking about today is where J Chuck was yesterday during my live premiere. Kind of interesting. And there is proof of it, in case you're wondering, because there's actually a video on J Chuck's channel where he's out there hiking and he narrates saying, I'm out here, Pitch Canyon or whatever is over that way, and I'm watching Warlike Raph's video. So that's different, that stands out. But here, J Chuck says, I found and searched a cave today, Raphy. Oh, J Chuck's now calling me Raphy as well. Wow. He says, but it's mostly narrated in foreign language. Right. Was there a specific reason for that? I also asked, was it within the area Kenny Veach hiked in? And J Chuck said, I would think so, but not his direct linear route. Right, so not literally the same hike route direction, but within the area you have found a cave and you've been able to search it. Now, J Chuck, do you have that video up on your channel yet? Because when it comes to your titled videos, it can be hard to find stuff at times, right? Just let me know. And as well, the cave that you did explore, was it that deep or was it shallow, right? Because if it's fairly deep, like you could go spelunking, and it just happens to be within the area Kenny Veach described, as well as when he mentioned you can go spelunking, maybe it could go against it. It could, I don't know, reinforce the possibilities that there are explorable caves out there, even though for quite some time that's not really been the case. So it could open up new possibilities again. Let me know, J Chuck. Tara, I got thrown out of the chat like Louise. I don't know what that means, like a lawyer. I don't know. Mark with a C, saying, Warlike Raph, just stick to your guns, man. Keep reporting, pay zero attention to the critics. Easier said than done, but they'll only pull you down, waste your time. You're over the target, brother. Response-wise, just the only thing to point out here, that there was created December of 2023. Joined 6 days ago as a channel. Username Dylan Rounds, but spelt differently without the Y. Obviously a lot of negativity as you see down below in the comment section, but the only reason why I wanted to bring this to your attention is, with it saying Dylan Rounds, that's a reference to the missing person Dylan Rounds from the Dylan Rounds case true crime community. So as for the viewers that are here right now, let me know your thoughts, because it kind of seems suggestible as to who it really is, okay? A soggy individual, possibly. I'll just leave it as that. We got Mr. C, good points, appreciate that. Response-wise, you must be deranged. Not as deranged as Silverheels, man. 6 days ago. Dylan Rounds. Well, smooth fishing, there's a chance it could be a certain someone, as we've seen in the Dylan Rounds case, because there are some people out there that like doing this type of method, right? Reoccurring. Cleo, good intake, stand points, you're welcome. The Light says, J Chuck is a smart man, yet some videos I have no clue on what he's talking about. Well, that can be the case at times. That's understandable. Cleo, keep them coming, yeah. Mr. C says, yeah, SB seems to have covered it and I've been watching his different trips out. I think he has a great one recently that he goes to the saddle and really covers a lot of ground. He's a real trooper on the ground for sure. Curious which route he takes exactly, but we'll review your videos you say with routes. Maybe he has interest in more and I could help him in the future, as I know it's a little unnerving to stay out alone so long. But he sure seems to have covered a lot of ground out there. Watching his coverage leaves one with less hope that any original route could have even be traced. James says, for what it's worth, J Silverhills did some extensive, relatively accurate mapping of all the hikes. Have to give that to him. Yeah, J Silverhills has played a key role too. Even if he does act a bit out of context at times, you know, his videos are still noted and acknowledged. I don't know if J Silverhills is fully back in this case or not. He hovers around J Chuck's channel, in case you're wondering where he's at. Gostadin saying, thanks for the update on the covered up cave. That's very sketchy. Didn't it also fall in the proposed military land takeover? Yes, absolutely. The original first military land proposed takeover, it did, but it didn't work out. It fell through. They didn't get what they wanted. The second proposed land takeover was above the cave area, supposedly. So you still would have been able to do the hike route, probably, you know. But you take in mind the initial demand by the military. They wanted that specific area, the same area Kenny Veach was hiking in. And it just happened to happen only after Kenny went missing and only after Kenny Veach announced and made the area popular, put the area on the map. So you could argue, once Kenny Veach put the area on the map, that's what gained interest from the military point of view, maybe. Okay, let's continue reading. You say, I can think of a number of reasons why someone would cover up a cave in the middle of nowhere. For starters, it's near a massive military property. Maybe it's an army cache or a hazardous waste dump site, a dangerous mine, containment of radioactive material, a secret entrance, ancient burial chambers, you name it. I won't rule out the possibility of it being a portal, though. I'm sceptical when it comes to the supernatural forces. Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, if it was some kind of military cache, some kind of underground bunker or tunnel way, let's just say, and it's used by the military or has been used by the military, why is it taking them that long to then think, well, our military stuff or equipment is over there on public land. Maybe we should, you know, take ownership of it so then we can claim it and then no one else can go over to it. I mean, I don't know. I just think with the military just thinking at the time, well, we don't need to take over that land because we don't expect people to go out there. But then the moment someone does and publicizes the location online, it gains the interest from military to think, you know what, this person is causing trouble. Whether they disappear or not, I think we need to cover this location up. Maybe we need to try and take over the location to prevent people from getting here. That 2014 event, right, you could compare as a microcosm to Storm Area 51. Once it gains interest, mystery, intrigue, maybe more people will gather, depending. And maybe the military, even though they weren't aware of Storm Area 51, because that happened in the future, in 2014, maybe they were just like, well, we don't want things to escalate here, so let's try and take action. But they still failed. So, yeah. What else? James saying, from what I've seen, J Chuck is dedicated and passionate about his endeavours. If it's a question of how he presents himself, it's because he's more spiritual than most, mixed with the military training that he's very dedicated to. Yeah, so one of the explanations as to why J Chuck could be considered a desert dog, why he pushes himself, why physically, you know, he's able to pull off all kinds of crazy things and push his body, is because he's also motivated by the military part, such as in the past with the French Foreign Legion training, and I guess some of it still to this day. Jeff Clark says, yeah, I'm just fed up with Susan Veach's exact same arguments without any proof at all. If she cannot even state what her own theory accusations is, she's irrelevant at this point. She emails all these people with leading questions and then cuts out a small part of what they say to say, see, they agree with me. She's very impressed that she's part of CNN. It's all about her personally and her personal gripes against Kenny, Ray and Debbie. I don't give a shit about CNN, HLN, or my own preferences about how this mystery is solved. I just want it solved without pointless direct distractions. Susan contributes nothing but distractions and false information. Maybe there is a reason that Ray and Debbie won't take her phone call, which is why she won't even try it. What's the response to that? Joe says, as to being impressed about these TV shows, the HLN show provided nothing new beyond the detective statements about life insurances. They did an M Cave show without even interviewing Sean, the guy who first publicised the M Cave case and did the first hike. They didn't interview Raf, a guy who has created hundreds of videos on the subject. Instead, they used Aquachigger, someone who no one even heard of in this case, and they had a desert hiking expert who sounded like he had never hiked out of sight of his own car in his life. It was a joke. I think when it comes to that HLN show, the reason why they used Aquachigger and not Sean, the reason why they covered this but not that, is because it's a popularity contest. Whilst they want to shine light on Kenny Veach and the mysterious case in the cave, HLN wants to profit as well and do well. So if it means bending the rules, twisting the narrative, or only showing a certain side to the story and not the full picture, and only using the popular ones in this case, such as Aquachigger, who has hiked out there. The only difference between Aquachigger and Jeff Clark or Sean Horlacher is Aquachigger is more popular and has more subscribers. So HLN will think, well, you know what, Aquachigger, with his audience and scale, well, that will definitely benefit us. Unlike Jeff Clark, who's only got a few hundred subscribers. But, you know, being realistic, Jeff Clark and Sean Horlacher's coverage is vastly more important, more in-depth, and acknowledges far more of the environment than Aquachigger's total hike videos out there in total, right? You combine all of Aquachigger's hike videos together going out there, it doesn't compare to the likes of Sean Horlacher's, Scott Natal's, Jeff Clark's, because those three and others counting, you know, have been more hands-on with the case, right? They've gone out there, even if it's a one-off hike or only been out twice, they've just covered more. They've looked around more. They've been more observant. When they come across the covered M Cave, the supposed one, the area where Kenny Veach pointed out and said, a place just like here, they acknowledged it. They went up to it. Aquachigger literally walked right past it. Now, what Aquachigger was initially doing at the time was he was retracing the steps of Kenny, even stopping at key points and comparing the photos to when Kenny Veach stopped at. So that was good. But once he got over Wild Horse Pass and he was approaching Picture Canyon on the right-hand side of the canyon rock wall, he just completely ignored that part, the area where Kenny stopped and said, yeah, in a place like here, and then turned around and looked at the cave opposite on the left-hand side where he appeared scared of and said, looks like, I'm not going up there. Aquachigger did nothing about that or acknowledge it. So it's just a popularity contest at the end of the day. Now, in terms of the HLN show, Jeff Clark, Susan Veach, she herself was also very disappointed in the documentary because of how it covered the case. The same old regurgitated story, the suicide part, typical, only word being taken from one individual, the girlfriend, who can't really be trusted, but able to pull the wool over most people's eyes out there, right? And even when Susan got in on the HLN show and, you know, had her interview, she had a range of things to say, but she wasn't aware that the crew behind the show actually edited most of that stuff out. So then they made Susan appear more crazy, or you can't take her as serious, right? And I did make a prediction before the documentary even aired. So even back then when I was making negative predictions, I got it right because that's how it turned out. Because with time, people did watch it and they did reach out to me and they said, you know what, Raf, you were right. That's exactly how it went. How you predicted it is how it went. So I think across all boards, a fair range of people are disappointed in HLN, even those you might not agree with, even they are disappointed. Anything else to acknowledge up here? I mean, when it comes to Susan Veach, who's done the research part on being able to get a hold of public details, let me just word that, of certain locations when it's come to Google Earth Maps, which has then led to my coverage on a certain house out there which showed Kenny's vehicle on the driveway post 2014. Okay, if anyone's interested in that, be sure to check my previous videos out. You'll find it. If you adjust my videos to most popular, you'll find it. It'll be titled Kenny Veach's vehicle caught on camera or caught on Google Earth after 2014. So because of Susan's work there, it led to that type of video. Susan has provided text messages and receipts over time from different reactions of family members. Even if that's not enough evidence to suggest this or suggest that, at least you've seen it from a different point of view, from friends of Kenny Veach or family members. Stuff you would never normally see because it's in the background, but it's been publicly shown to the light, right? So that should at least be acknowledged, right? It might not be enough, but it's something. Maybe with time, and maybe in the eyes of Jeff Clark, it's a big maybe. Evidence can be collected, or bits and bobs can be, and in the future, if you arrange it all together, it might form a bigger picture, okay? As I said, maybe this case is limited in material, but I thought any material should be valued, right? Let's move on. Oops. What is that? Make-A-Wish. What the fuck is that? Make-A-Wish Foundation or something. God, Dale has already put me there. Anyway, Jeff Clark says, J. Chuck slandered Godlike Productions, which is why I dropped him like a hot potato. Godlike Productions stands supreme. Whoa. Whoa. If Godlike Productions is so supreme, why did it go around banning people when they get very sensitive? I don't quite understand that. Getting banned when it's not necessary. Yeah, weird. So what did J. Chuck do? How did J. Chuck slander GLP? What did he say? We got Glenn there. Shout out to Glenn. We got Joe saying this Kenny M Cave Mystery can get very mysterious because seeing a lot of pictographs that are out there, and a lot of them showing some kind of pictographs to tell the story of the area. Some shows a show of a big man, I was going to say a Big Mac, then McDonald's, or a giant, maybe a Bigfoot. The Indians had to deal with this problem. Look at the Lovelock Cave, where Indians trapped the giants and burned them in the cave because the giants were cannibals. Even the Bible talks about those giants, but most were destroyed in the Great Flood. As cases are in Indians' history, it's not too far off to believe that there's areas where the pictographs may have portals or Bigfoot creatures in the area. I wonder what kind of symbols are in the pictographs in Picture Canyon area. Another thing I'd like to know if there's been any other missing people cases in the same area. So, as for other missing people in the area, Jerry, or Joe, there's supposedly one person called Eric the Hiker. Eric the Hiker reached out to the girlfriend Sharon Pilgrim on Twitter saying, I'll go out there looking for Kenny. Eric the Hiker never responded back. Sharon was like, it's been a few days now and I've not heard back from you. Can you please call me? And nothing ever happened. So it could be presumed that Eric the Hiker is another missing individual out there. Some people believe it was just like a false call. It was nothing in the end. It was someone bullshitting, but you never know. And then supposedly there is another missing person out there because supposedly, was it Gene Lokovsky or somebody else reached out saying that, was it Blackgate Canyon? I might be getting mixed up with the name of it, but do you know when you go down Jermay Road, and you turn left, you got Jermay Canyon, but if you look right, or if you look east, was it southeast or so, kind of like Gas Peak way, in that direction, you got a canyon up there. And that's where a private search team was at when 2021 January time, and they found a femur bone presumed to be a human, but then later turned out to be an animal bone. But the fact that you supposedly had a private search team out there, and it's private and we don't know who that missing person is, that raises some suspicion and question. Did it even happen in the first place? Well, that can remain a bit of a question too. Some people have been skeptical, but you could argue there's at least 3 missing people out there. Eric the hiker, Kenny Veach, and some other person, maybe, right? Maybe not. Smee Fishing, you're welcome. Inspector Gadget, you make a good point. Many channels put up daily video just to stay present on YouTube. Ongoing research whilst posting nearly every day is much more challenging. One of the reasons why I like this channel. Appreciate that. Is it challenging doing it every single day? I mean, most definitely it's got to those points more often, maybe in the past. 2022 and getting into 2023 where it's like, damn, there's only so much that can be covered. What else is there to do? That's why you hope to try and move on to another case in between to fill the blank in, if possible. Being able to alternate between the two, which is great. But I think one thing that allows daily coverage is if you don't cover everything in one day, but you spread it out over time. And I don't mean drip feeding. I just mean going in deep with one topic area at a time. So you maximise the understanding, but you also maximise the time of coverage over whatever length period. And it also means the longer it remains relevant, the case, and stays alive. So it has its own positives. June, when was there a fake Susan Veach account? Well, 2021, 2022, around that point. And who is Vicky? Vicky Veach is Kenny's daughter. Okay? Christy, they call us the geriatric club. We should not be shocked or offended by swear words. Yeah. Skeptical, true crime, missing person coverage analysis 101. Tune in, listen and learn. Oh, skeptical. Yeah. Catch up with these comments by skeptical. Warlock Raff, I agree. Just those 2 comments by SP. Oh, Sharon Pilgrim. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to get a little bit confusing, right? It's probably best not to use SP because if you got people from the Dylan Rounds case and community, they'll think SP means salty pancakes, that whiny individual. But if you're in the Kenny Veach case and you say SP, you'd be thinking Sharon Pilgrim. Whoa, I never thought about that. Anyway, what Skeptical says here is she's saying the 2 comments by Sharon Pilgrim, I'll let you know if you're getting close to the truth, and the Robin Williams comment are very insensitive and skeptical. They are. And finishing off, Edward, saying, I still think the M Cave was a cover-up by Kenny just wanting to vanish or might not have been alone out there. Cartels hide drugs out there in mines a lot. The talk about cartels have come into play, but has there been enough evidence or sightings of the cartel? You know, all these hikers that have gone, well, not all, but these group of hikers that have gone out there with time, have they come across signs of the cartel, the presence of them? I don't think so. If there has been any experiences, then feel free to share them down below. But for now, it looks like we reached the end of the comments. So hopefully you enjoyed these psychological analysis on parts of a case or in general, holistically speaking. Let me know down below what you think, right? Whether you agree or disagree as to, is the M Cave, the drawing point, the most magnetizing factor in the case, or is it Kenny Veach? Which way round does it go? What ranks higher on the significance scale? Let me know your thoughts down below. And in addition, feel free to like and share the video to spread awareness of this case, to keep it alive. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, this psychological analysis, I know we've done it in the past with resistance, but we can also do it with an actual case as well. You want to see more of this type of coverage from time to time, feel free to like the video so then I know whether it's the right direction or not. But I think we'll leave it there for now. In general, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, good night for now.